Peace and blessings, family. I am Astarius Miraculi. This is day 12 of 100 days of healing, which is for the purpose of my atoning for my transgressions and crossing of the boundaries of women. There are many specifics in all of the videos that precede this one, and I invite you to partake of the whole series. And in this now moment, there's not a whole lot in the way of words that I want to start with, but rather some healing tones. I have been blessed to be able to touch some very healing and transformational places through the resonance of sound. That's one of the things that the Most High has been kind enough to gift me with. So in this beginning, I'm offering some tones as a transmission of the sacred apology, transmission of the atonement, and the intention to heal, the sexual wounds, the sexual shame, the sexual violations, to heal all of those who've experienced being sexually, all of those of us who have experienced being sexual violators, and all of those of us who have experienced being sexually violated. And so I ask you, beloveds, if you would offer your intention of healing to ride upon these tones. And I know that many of you are very powerful, in the healing ways. And if it, feels right to your heart, just offer a healing intention to join with this so that we would have a collective intention to bring about healing and transformation and a better world. I ask you, beloved Most High, beloved angels and beloved ascended masters and beloved ancestors, to offer your divine intention of healing to ride upon the wings of these tones. Thank you so much. I want to share in this moment the first time the idea of the sacred apology to women came to me back in about 1994. And I was at a sacred sexuality workshop. It was teaching, I was a student, there attending, and it was teaching about the sacredness of sexuality, teaching about the ways in which sexuality and spirituality are connected. And so It was during a segment of the workshop where it was open for questions and comments and things of that nature. And I was just sitting there and I felt the essence of the Most High nudging me from within and said, Astarius, I want you to stand up and apologize to all of the women for the treachery that has been experienced by them from men. You know, the rapes, the beatings, the killings, you know, the sheer treachery. And of course, I had my own, you know, energy in the mix. And so I followed this guidance and stood up and began to share for the very first time the sacred apology to women. And it was an amazing experience, you know, like a spontaneous miracle. The seminar just erupted in tears of transformation. And as I did that, the next thing I knew, other men were standing up and doing the same thing. And it just became this amazing healing vibration. And so it was about that time, 94 or so, when I began to really pursue a study of Tantra, you know, which is the study of, you know, sacred sexuality. I mean, there's many branches of Tantra, but this particular one, sacred sexuality, and the ways in which sexuality and spirituality are connected. Because I think that that's a very missing piece in the world overall, you know, because we've all been born into this physical experience and earned our incarnation by way of the sexual energy, you know, the contribution of mama's, you know, egg and father's sperm, you know, that has given us the opportunity to come into this physical incarnation. And so if this sexual energy can create a body from scratch, then certainly it must have the power to offer healing, you know, unto the body and offer restoration, you know, of imbalances. And of course, you know, when that is done and achieved in the highest way, it has to be completely clean. And, you know, whereas I've been working, you know, toward developing that energy and giving that energy the intention to heal and to transform, I was still caught in my own sexual woundedness, and so I couldn't bring it forward, you know, with the greatest clarity, you know, and the greatest cleanness, you know, and yet there was this journey that I was on because I'd had, you know, all of this strong, you know, sexual energy and certainly had experienced, you know, shame around that energy. And then when I began to study, you know, sacred sexuality and Tantra, you know, it was like beginning to pull myself up, you know, beyond the energies of shame and recognizing the higher resonance of consciousness that exists, you know, within that energy. And so I began to experience some elevation around that. I began to experience some healing of different layers. There's a lot of healing that had to take place, and so, and is yet having to take place. But I was witnessing some progress in that energy and beginning to understand it better. You know, I was learning that, you know, those of us who are very creatively blocked oftentimes have a grave disassociation from the sexual energy. And of course, that being the energy that creates, when we disassociate from that, you know, we can't create. And when I talk about disassociating from it, I'm not talking about necessarily when we're in creation, that it's in the mode of the standard experience of being sexual with someone, but rather the intention, you know, to allow that energy to offer itself to bringing about the fulfillment and the fruition of something, you know, that one is wanting to bring about. And so I was very grateful for recognizing this spiritual connection, you know, with that energy, and that all of us can be very more powerful creators when we have a healthy and harmonious alignment with the energy of sexuality, and that we don't define it according to the massive abuse of it that is, you know, so rampant within the world. And that's one of the unfortunate things, is that sometimes it's just defined, you know, by abuse, and so then we don't get to to wield it as a force of creation. I started playing a didgeridoo, I guess 1995 or so. Very powerful instrument of sound frequencies, and um, I would play into the energy field of the body, and play into the chakras, and then when I would play into the first and second chakras, particularly when I was working, with, well, I would play into the first and second chakras of women and men. But one thing that I noticed when I would play into the first and second chakras of a woman, um, and I would, ask for permission there. But what would happen is sometimes this intense sexual arousal would occur, and I was still growing in my own woundedness. And so when I would witness all of this Shakti, coming up, within a woman, what happened inside of me is I became overly enamored in the witnessing of, this powerful, sexual arousal coming up. I was able to stay in touch with the healing intention, but there was still a distraction going on within my own body because, I was finding too much pleasure, in what it was that I was witnessing. And so that was in the earlier days of that, and I recognized, after a while that was not okay. That if I was going to hold space, for that energy, it was important for me to be able to witness it and just hold space for it, and not to allow myself to become engaged in, just the feeling of the pleasure of what it was that I was witnessing. Uh, I grew some more, in that, and, reached a place where I could then, start uh, or could witness that energy and not become so engaged in it myself, where I had grown to a place where I could point out, that this is your energy, it's not for me. Give this energy to your prayers, give it to your dreams, and then certainly don't feel a sense of shame around it, because many times that would be the thing. If that energy came up, especially in a spiritual context, then shame, came in, because we've had this split, in our society relative to sexuality and spirituality. Even when we're in training to become healers, I feel it's really important that we are taught more than just avoid, any, involvement in sexual energy when you're in service, to someone in a healing way. But a little more information, because sometimes when, two people come together in a healing way, whether it's a man and a woman, or a woman and a woman, or a man and a man, when there's sexual chemistry, that energy can come up, and it's the energy of attraction, and not, appropriate to cross boundaries and things of that nature. But if we have more information being taught, around that, that one, if you're offering a healing and that energy comes up, that, to not shame yourself for it, but not engage with it, and, just make a prayer of intention that, that energy be offered to the intention of the healing. I mean, this is not an easy one. This is a big assignment here, but it is, something that comes up, in terms of just chemistry. Sometimes chemistry is the loudest voice in the space, and there is a definite difference between, sexual chemistry and sexual intention. Chemistry is just the raw feeling of it, and intention is what one decides to do with it. So I pray that in our world we start, educating more fully with regards to that, and give more information than just avoid that, but rather some wisdom of how to deal with that when and if it comes up, because it does come up. And, those of you who are healers, and those of you who have sought healing, many of you would absolutely know what I'm speaking about. So, that's my offering for today. From time to time, I may play a piece of music that I've created after at the end of these videos if it feels like it's something that might be helpful. I love you so much, and I thank you for engaging with me and taking this journey with me in this 100 days of healing. And I thank the Most High for the massive healings that will take place. You know, that there will be so many healings and transformations, by virtue of this, because there's a lot of views that are happening with regards to this presentation. So I love you so much, family. Thank you so much, and good fortune in all that you are and all that you be.